Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari 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 Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Hari Om.
Hari Hari Om.
Hari Hari
Om Shanti.
Hari Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome, Swami Ramananda. You know, that chant was the very first chant that I've ever learned when I was at the Integral Yoga teacher training. And every time that I chant that, I feel myself back home, which I'm actually back home because I'm at the Integral Yoga Center in New York City, and you are at the Integral Yoga in San Francisco.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Great to see you.
So so great to reconnect with you, Swami Ramananda. So let's start from the very beginning. Let's start from when you first took that first breath of yoga and knew that yoga was your path of awakening the infinite. When did it all start?
I actually took my very first yoga class in Jerusalem in French, and that got me interested. But I think I wasn't quite ready to really appreciate what it had to offer. When I returned to the States, I took an integral yoga class that included the yoga nidra, the pranayama, and meditation, in addition to the asanas. And I had this experience of silence, inner silence that I'd never had before, and that blew me away, and that really got me interested. And like you say, I don't know if I ever told you that, but like you say, that captivated my attention right from there on. I was I knew I had to pursue this and understand what it was and see what it could offer me.
Incredible. You know, you speak about that state of that inner silence, and I know that that is a lifelong journey and a lifelong practice because we deal with this monkey mind that really needs the training for it. And whether we are working with plant medicine at Rythmia or the integral yoga way, really, give us some tips on how do we awaken the infinite through quieting the mind to find the stillness?
Yeah, it is well said, a lifelong path, at least for most of us. And maybe some people did their preparation in a past life. The problem is that we're used to seeing the world and experiencing ourselves through this very limited instrument of the mind. And so we see separation. Where there's unity, we see diversity. We see limitation because we're looking through our own limited senses, our sense of perception. So we have to escape the limitations of that identity that we've created for ourselves, the way we've defined ourselves. Swami Satchidananda used to say, we were fine and then we got defined. and we have defined ourselves. We have to refine ourselves through some kind of path or practice that enables us to escape this very limited way of seeing the world and pursuing happiness. I can speak about a few different ways. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please do. Please do. I know we only have a short time with you on these Our Love segments, and the more that we can receive wisdom from you, we're here to receive and learn.
Well, the classic teachings of yoga offer sort of 4 pathways that are depicted in the Bhagavad Gita, but they all have to do with aligning our being with this higher will. There is this universal consciousness that we can come to know not through the mind, but by awakening to a higher form of knowing. And we approach that by learning. One way would be learning to quiet the mind. And that's what the path of Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Pranayama, meditation generally focuses on, this comprehensive method of learning to master the mind, to quiet all the movement so that we reveal this presence that's already there. But that experience can also be approached through selfless service, just through aligning our will with the higher will in the form of service, thinking of the well-being of others, and dedicating one's life to service. And we see many saints that took that as their pathway. They didn't sit in a cave somewhere. They got active in the world. Mother Teresa, they served the needy. It seemed like all the luminaries, all the saints ended up focusing a lot of attention in that way. Yet another pathway is the path of love and devotion, right? Where one becomes devoted to some representation, some personification, some saint or some deity, and through aspiring to surrender, consciously surrender to this higher will in some form, in some embodiment, right? They offer themselves, they surrender their own limited way of thinking in order to align themselves with this divine presence that they've seen embodied in a saint, in a guru, or in the teachings themselves. Mahatma Gandhi, I think, was devoted to the principles of truth and nonviolence. In a way, those were his gurus. Then yet the 4th pathway that's depicted is that of jnana yoga, that of an uninterrupted disidentification with the mind and thoughts, where one takes position of this unchanging awareness that's in the backdrop of thought. In the same way that the vast sky holds space for everything that moves through it, is unaffected. The jnana yogi identifies themselves with this unchanging awareness instead of all the movement of thought. And that kind of absolute clarity, separation of the ever-changing mind and body from the unchanging consciousness, right, also allows someone to experience that unity, right, that ultimate consciousness, that infinity.
Powerful.
Yeah. Anytime that we do something that absorbs our whole being completely into the present moment, we can all experience this. It's not something that's just for the those who meditate in the Hawaiian caves, we all probably have some taste of this experience, our whole being absorbed in the present moment. And there exists nothing but the present, instead of the fragmented movement of the mind toward the past and the future and the anxiety about what will happen and what did happen. If we can dwell in this present moment, then there is no time. And that's where we shift out of this limited identification to this higher form of knowing.
You know, Swami Ramananda, where I feel so connected to what you just shared is connecting to the breath. I feel that the breath is like the ABCs of being able to walk this path of awakening the infinite. So, you know, everyone can find their own modality and their own way, and yet the breath is what connects us all. And I really learned how to breathe in 1999 when I took yoga teacher training at Integral Yoga, because as a dancer, I used to just hold my breath. And I feel that really it's the breath of spirit that then breathes through us that we can connect to the infinite.
Beautifully said, Parashakti. In a way, you could say the body is a creation that happened from the past, right? It's made up of our thoughts and what we consumed from the past. And the mind often moves to the future, but the breath is always in the present. You can't breathe in the future.
Yes.
You only breathe in the present moment.
Oh, exactly. And what connects us all. And so, you
True.
know, there is no separation. And when we breathe together, whether it's in a yoga class or even in the subways of New York, there's a depth of connection to one's truth. And so, with that breath that we take together from near and afar, because again, I'm in the Integral Yoga New York, and Swami Ramananda is at the Integral Yoga San Francisco. How would you like to take us on a journey of breath to bring this to a closing, Swami Ramananda?
We could take a few deep breaths together with our eyes closed, and contemplate how every breath is an exchange, right? So how can we possibly think that we're separate beings when we're constantly exchanging with the environment, with the plant life, with the whole web of life? So we could close our eyes. We can breathe deeply together a few times in whatever way each person knows. We can exhale thoroughly and inhale fully. And then we can let the breath settle into its own natural rhythm, but keep our awareness engaged on the breath, in the present, allowing ourselves to just be with the breath. Om. I think that may be our time.
So,
Thank you, Parashakti.
yes, yes, I so appreciate you tuning in and sharing of your great wisdom, Swami Ramananda. It's such an honor to be. It feels like just yesterday we were dancing together.
It does, it's true. And I've enjoyed watching how far you've gone, Parashakti, and serving the world with your messages.
Thank you so much. Thank you for always making me feel at home.
Okay.
So much love. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and have a beautiful weekend. Om, om, om.
Om.